Well, if you haven't been downtown, and I know a lot of you have, you know, there's some great things going on downtown, the Cleveland Clinic, the Fremont Street, but one of the beauties of downtown is the Smith Center. And with me today to talk about it is Myron Martin. And, you know, this says, an interesting thing about Las Vegas is when, in this town, when they talk about creating something, compared to another city. You know, in other cities, they talk about, we should do this, we should do that. It never happens. In Las Vegas, you talk about creating something, and it really happens. It's one of the fascinating features of Las Vegas. Take me through a little bit of the genesis of, whose idea was it, for instance?
Well, it's been over 20 years ago today that a group of community leaders got together and said, we are the largest community in North America without fill in the blank. And in that space, there was a world-class performing arts center, there was Major League Sports, there was an academic medical center. There were a few things that made that list. And a handful of people like Don Snyder and Nancy Housels and Scott McTaggart and a bunch of others got together and said, we have to change this. And so they did some consulting. They hired some folks to help us understand what bringing a world-class performing arts center would do for our community. And it was a process. And today, 20 years later, we have what has been called one of the world's greatest performing arts centers, and it's right here in Las Vegas, and built primarily for those of us who live here.
And we have a quick video. It gives us a little bit of a tour of the Smith Center, and let's see what it looks like.
Good.
That was before you opened, right?
Yeah, this is all CAD. This is computer generated while the building was still being constructed. We wanted to check everything and make sure that what was being built was exactly like what we pictured, and what you just saw there was the beauty of computers animating what the real building would be. Can I tell you, we dreamt big. When we traveled around the world and we looked at the greatest performing arts centers all over the world, we set our sights on being one of, if not the best ever built. And that's saying a lot when you think of places like La Scala and the Paris Opera House and the Sydney Opera House and so many others. That little video says, yeah, we had big expectations, but today the reality of the Smith Center is better than any dream we ever had, and it makes us very proud.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, because typically it's the opposite way. Typically, the reality is not as good as the plan.
Yeah.
What you have multiple stages and rooms in there, correct? How many do you have?
Well, so Reynolds Hall, the big stage that you just saw in that animation, is where all the Broadway shows and the big touring performers go. Then we have something called Cabaret Jazz. It's a 240-seat intimate space made for live music. Cabaret Jazz. We have the Troche Studio Theater, named after Dennis and Carol Troche, who are doing a lot in our community, and we're thrilled that they have supported the Smith Center. And then our fourth venue is in Symphony Park, where we have a stage, and we've done a number of concerts for, say, 3,000 people out on the grass. So 4 big venues, a little something for everybody.
In the Cabaret Jazz room, I know you have Clint Holmes there each month.
Yeah, every month. Clint Holmes is kind of the resident in Cabaret Jazz. He's typically there the first weekend of every month, except this month he was at the Cafe Carlisle. In fact, he's there right now and getting the best reviews of his life. I mean, our own Clint Holmes from right here in Las Vegas is getting reviews in New York City right now, putting him on par with Sinatra and Tony Bennett. We're so proud that he is doing so well. He's never sounded better. And he sounds incredibly good in Cabaret Jazz because it's a room built for live music. So I encourage you, friends of Clint or someone who may be new to town that have never heard Clint Holmes sing, to come down to this little intimate space called Cabaret Jazz and hear what music really should sound like.
Now, we have a clip of that, of the Cabaret Jazz, and we have, I guess, a performance by Chris Mann. He was one of the finalists on The Voice.
That's right. He's coming up. He's not been in our space yet. Your video is him from The Voice, and we can't wait for him to come and perform at Cabaret Jazz.
And James Torme, relationship to Mel?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have 2 Torme sons, both of whom are singers. One was here recently. One's coming up. Great live music is alive and well in Las Vegas.
Okay, let's take a quick look at them.
Type of love in their childish way. She's known every type of love better far than they. She's been through the mill of love. She's known every thrill of love.
It's also a culmination of the love that my mother gave me by exposing me to great art, music, and theater growing up. So it's fun for me because it's finally a way for me to turn around and share all of that with the public. I remember when we were kids, my sister and I used to pretend to be Dad. We would go up to our dad and sort of launch into long scat passages out of his songs, replicating it perfectly, and he'd get a real kick out of that. I'm always excited about any song where I can really just kind of let loose. Anytime I'm able to do that, I have more of a conversation with the music.
Well, I guess you can catch Chris Mann and James Torme. You can go onto your website, right? thesmithcenter.com. You need tickets. It's, as you said, intimate, wonderful setting, great entertainers, and we were just talking while you're watching the video that James Torme's father, Mel Torme, is the brother of a former
County Commissioner,
right?
Myrna Williams.
Myrna Williams.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay, but I mean, that is a fantastic room, great intimate setting, but you also have this grand, splendor of stage and venue where you have Broadway shows.
Yeah.
And I hate to even say Broadway shows, right?
No, they are Broadway shows.
Yeah.
We're getting in Las Vegas the first run touring shows that that we've always hoped to get. Last week, War Horse, the straight play that premiered at Lincoln Center, was here in Las Vegas. And it was huge for us because prior to the Smith Center, there's not been a stage where a play like War Horse, based on the great book, or the Steven Spielberg movie, could come to Las Vegas and sit down for a week and sell out every performance. People were moved by this show. War Horse, and so it's a bit of a game changer for us, I think, to be able to bring unique performances. Right there you see the little horse in the background who very soon becomes a much bigger horse, and and within minutes of starting in the show, you actually believe that the horse is real. When that horse comes on stage, you don't notice the puppeteers that are controlling him. You really believe that that horse is a real horse. And it was thrilling to have it here, and it's thrilling to know that Las Vegas now has a stage where great shows like this can come.
Yeah, another wonderful show that you had in the past was The Wizard of Oz.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you think of The Wizard of Oz, this is a movie we all grew up with. But this was a brand new production, and the very first city where the tour launched was Las Vegas. We got it first. And speaking of getting things first, the tour of Kinky Boots, which just won all the Tony Awards and all the great critical acclaim in New York, its tour, the entire international tour, will start in Las Vegas, which means that Cyndi Lauper and Jerry Mitchell and Harvey Fierstein and all the creative team will be here in the weeks leading up to this tour starting in Las Vegas. Broadway loves Las Vegas now, and it's because of what the Smith Center has done to create a perfect venue for their shows.
Yeah. When you're doing a performance like The Wizard of Oz, how much work goes into preparing the stage, the sets, and creating the show prior to it airing?
Yeah, so long before the 18-wheel trucks show up, and a show like Wicked, for instance, might have 20 or 25 trucks full of gear that show up. Our technical crew spends a couple of days getting ready. And then when the gear gets here, they know where every set piece, every light, every piece of sound equipment goes. And it's an entire day of getting ready, setting up for that performance. And we typically start on Tuesday for the first performance and go through Sunday. And when you include a couple of days that have 2 performances, it means we get 8 shows in a 1-week period. And so far, Las Vegas has really fallen in love with the Broadway series, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I get friends of mine who will call me, people like you, who say, I don't have tickets for tonight, can you get me some? And I can't tell you how many times I've had to say no, because we've just been completely sold out.
So how do you get a ticket?
Well, so first of all,
a lot of these seats are taken with season ticket holders, correct?
That's right. So first of all, I'd say if you're not a season ticket holder, I'd get on the list, and next year try to become a season ticket holder. It guarantees your seats. The other thing I have to point out is that we have tickets for all these shows starting at $24. Now, think about it. We live in a city called the entertainment capital of the world, and oftentimes we go see a show and we feel like we're paying more than had we seen the same show in another city. The Smith Center is making sure that we have affordable tickets so that people throughout the valley have the opportunity to come and see great shows like Wizard of Oz or War Horse or Evita is coming up or any of these great Broadway shows. If you're not a season ticket holder, look at our season in advance, see when the on-sale dates are coming up. For instance, a lot's been said about the Book of Mormon coming to Las Vegas. When you see the on-sale date, which I think is coming up sometime in January, make sure you mark your calendar, go online that day and get your tickets, because it will sell out very, very quickly.
And we'll talk about that in the Book of Mormon a little bit later. But I was going to ask you about when you have new season tickets available, is that because some people don't renew their seats and there's a turnover of some sort?
Yeah, every year there's a little bit of change. So if somebody says, last year I sat over here, this year I'd like to sit over here if spaces are made available. And so all of these things change. People move, things happen, and seats become available. Here's the great news and the terrible news all in one. When we started the Broadway series, our goal was to have 6,000 season ticket holders. We thought, if we can have 6,000 subscribers, that'll give us a nice base to make sure that the Broadway partners are comfortable coming to Las Vegas. In our first season, we had 11,000 season ticket holders. People saying, I want to see all 8 or all 10 shows, and willing to pay for them in advance. This year, it actually went up to over 12,000 season ticket holders. And to put it in perspective, a typical 8-show week with approximately 2,000 seats, That's 16,000 available seats, 12,000 of which are sold on subscription. That's great news for us, but it means that if you want to buy a single ticket for any of the shows, it's one of 4,000 seats that'll be available, and you have to get in early to get one.
Mm-hmm. And even with the $24 ticket, I mean, there's no bad seat anywhere in the theater, and the sound, the acoustics, I understand, are superb.
Yeah, the acoustics are great, and you're right. We spent a lot of time with our architects, our engineers, our acousticians, and our theater designers to make sure that, for instance, there aren't any columns that get in the way, preventing you from seeing the show, and all kinds of things to make sure that there aren't bad seats in this house.
You talked about Evita coming up. Very famous movie as well as a show. That's coming November 26th. Be here for that 8 performances, I assume. And I think we have a preview of Evita. Let's take a look at that.
All right.
Buenos Aires, I'm you. I wanna say I'm just a little stuck on you. You'll be on me too.
She was a poor girl from nowhere whose unshakable drive, irresistible allure, and sparkling charisma won the love of a nation. She is Evita.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you.
Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber's Tony Award-winning musical is back in a thrilling new production that's being called a big, fat, high-octane blockbuster, and sexy, seductive, and sublime. Evita.
Of course, in the movie, it was Madonna that played Evita.
That's right. That's right. And the original Broadway cast was much different as well. This is a newly conceived production of Evita. I saw it in New York last year. It's really, really good. And for those who haven't come to see a show because the shows are all sold out, tickets are on sale right now for Evita, and you can go online
that's
and
good.
get
So they're
seats.
still available
Yes,
for Evita?
they are.
Okay, well, maybe I'll jump on a couple
All
of
right,
those.
good.
You have a great job. I mean, you travel around the world going to see shows, essentially.
Well, I traveled around the world with our design team to
Right.
make sure that we built the perfect place, and now I get to be a Tony voter, which means I get to go and see all the Broadway shows as they come out, because we want the very best to then come to Las Vegas, because I think people who live in Las Vegas deserve to see the best.
So how does this work? If I have producing a show, I'll call you and say, hey, I'd like to bring my show to Las Vegas. So you have to go back to New York, look at the show?
If it's Broadway, I have seen it, because part of my commitment as a Tony voter is that I will see every show, because in order to vote, you have to see it all.
Does that include like off-Broadway shows as well?
It does. Includes musicals and plays. And so having that perspective certainly helps when the agents then start saying, all right, this show and this show and this show are going on the road. We raise our hands for the best ones because we want them all to come to Las Vegas.
Another show, it's up and coming. Now we have two shows I want to talk about that are coming next year. The Book of Mormon that you mentioned, and Porgy and Bess. Now, Porgy and Bess is, it's an old show, right?
It's a classic Broadway show that's been reconceived. It's now called The Gershwin's Porgy and Bess.
And what is the plot of Porgy and Bess?
Well, if you've not seen Porgy, this is where the music "Summertime" comes from. You know, that great song, and "I Got Plenty of Nothing," and a whole bunch of great songs came from this show. All African American cast. The new production was extraordinary on Broadway, and I can't wait for it to hit the road so that people in cities like ours get a chance to see it. It's really, really good. Now, every once in a while, yesterday I had a letter from a lady saying that she had seen one of the shows, she'd seen West Side Story, and that it was different than the production she saw in 1959 on Broadway. And And the truth
maybe it
is,
was her memory that was different.
maybe.
Yeah.
But the truth is, Broadway producers love updating and reconceiving. Evita is a great example. Porgy and Bess is a great example.
Into Wizard of Oz add songs or music?
Wizard of Oz was a brand new show. It had never been on Broadway before. And the other one that's coming to Las Vegas is Pippin. And I saw the original production in 1974 on Broadway, and I saw the new reconceived version last year on Broadway. And the new one is fantastic, and I can't wait to share it with everybody here in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And of course, the Book of Mormon is highly anticipated. It's been, just an amazing run in New York, and it's now traveling.
Yes. Yeah, it's on the road now, and Book of Mormon is one of those exceptions. One of our early Broadway shows was Wicked, and it was here for 6 weeks, and it sold out all 48 performances. That experience told us that with the show that's as popular as Book of Mormon, that we needed to get it for a longer period as well. So we have it coming for multiple weeks. And it will sell out just as well. In fact, some of the producers are saying, don't be surprised if it doesn't sell out in 6 or 8 hours.
And I think we do have some video of Porgy and Bess, and we do have some video of Book of Mormon, so let's take a quick look at the Porgy and Bess one. Summertime, that's a very great song.
And that singer, the lady you just heard singing, is Audra Mcdonald, who is coming here with her solo show in a couple of weeks. If you've never heard her sing, put her in Reynolds Hall with the great acoustics, and it's going to be a thrilling evening in Reynolds Hall. So I encourage people to pick up some tickets and see the incredible Audra Mcdonald.
Well, you have so much going on. It's hard to keep track of what you have going.
Well, it's true. I mean, in our first 365 days, we did something like 475 shows. That's more than one a day.
Right.
In our first 365 days, we had more than 50,000 Clark County School District kids come to the Smith Center for workshops and master classes, and getting all these kids involved and excited. I got goosebumps in the 4th grade going on a field trip like that. And nothing excites me more than seeing the yellow school buses pull up to the Smith Center.
Well, look, you made a career out of it.
Yeah.
From being a kid, right?
That's right. I say I got into this business in the 4th grade, and it was because I got goosebumps.
I think we have a clip of Book of Mormon.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Two by two, victory, armed with the greatest book in history.
And the Tony Award goes to the Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon.
I think the night would be a big disappointment if we didn't thank our co-writer who passed away, Mr. Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon religion. You did it, Joseph. You got the Tony.
The Book of Mormon.
Is that something you voted for? Are you allowed to say?
No, I'm not, but
Okay.
but I will tell you this. There aren't many shows that I go back to see multiple times, and I've seen the Book of Mormon quite a few times, and every time I laugh, every time I cheer for the great singing and the brilliance in the writing of this show. So it'll be a lot of fun to bring it to Las Vegas.
You started talking about Clark County students.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a program that you work in affiliation with Clark County School District.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that we're proud of. I mean, I love to talk about architecture and how we built this extraordinary building, and I love talking about all the shows like we're talking about now, but nothing excites me more than seeing the excitement on faces of our kids, because that's the experience I had in the 4th grade. My daughter last year was in the 4th grade, and she had that goosebumps experience at the Smith Center, and one day her kids and their kids will come to the Smith Center and have these kinds of experiences the way I had them. And that's a game changer. You know, that's what this is really about, is finding ways to engage the community, to create a living room for Las Vegas where people of all ages can find something that they can be inspired by. And it sure does make us happy when we see the school buses pull up.
Do you have plans to have programs for acting and singing and drama classes?
Well, it's interesting. We're not an academy. There are a lot of places in town that do a really good job of teaching. But we do supplement experiences either in the district or beyond. For instance, 2 years ago we started Camp Broadway. The folks from New York who do Camp Broadway in New York City now come to Las Vegas every summer. And they do week-long singing, dancing, acting classes for our kids. There's a group from 6 to 9 and another group from 10 to 17 that learn from the best. Last year, for the very first time, we participated in the National High School Musical Theater Awards. Now, let me tell you what a big deal this is. 5 years ago, I sat in the Minskoff Theater where The Lion King performs, and I was there for the National High School Musical Theater Awards, and I saw kids on the stage performing from all across the country, but no one from Nevada. And I said, we are going to change that. And we did. The day that the Smith Center opened is the day that Nevada was
on the map.
Was on the map and allowed to send our kids to New York City.
Thank you so much, Myron. Myron Martin, and I'm sure you love M&Ms too.
As a matter of fact.
TheSmithCenter.com. You got to experience it. And we'll see you next week.